It's Tuesday the 4th of March 2014, it's 6 o'clock, we're live on Anfield FM, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Flagpole Corner. Just before I introduce my guests this week, I'd like to dedicate the show into the memory of Alex Yami. It was last week, with the 2-year anniversary when Alex was cruelly taken away from us before the Cardiff game at Wembley. So this show goes out to Luke and his family, and just like the lads are thinking of it, because everything is going to be alright. My guests this week are Mark, Will, Roy. We are live from the Sandon once again. We'd like to thank Lorraine for the hospitality. The reason we have Mark on the show is because he's been diagnosed with motor neurone disease. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I want Mark to put it in his own words. So, Mark, can you tell me what MND actually is?
Yeah, MND is a terminal muscle wasting disease that gives you a life expectancy of 2 to 5 years. I was diagnosed in 2010, so I think I'm doing alright, to be honest. It's something that's got no cause. Any adult can get it, any age, any race, any gender, and unfortunately, bigger than that, it's got no cure. So everything that I've been doing for the last 2 years is trying to raise awareness for this disease, because it's not a very well known disease. 5 people a day die in the UK alone, never mind worldwide. So there's only about 1,000 people currently living in the UK with it.
Well, I've actually got the disease.
Yeah, they've actually living with it,
I don't want to try and put a term on it, but who's the most high profile person who's got it?
Probably Stephen Hawking, even though he's had it 40 odd years now. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but he's probably a freak in nature, as in he's one of the lucky ones, if you can call it that, to go beyond 5 years really, because half the people that are diagnosed it will die within 2 years. But again, we've had like Tom Levy, who's an ex-England manager, Jimmy Johnston, ex-Celtic player, and Willie Madsen, who played for Middlesbrough, and more recently we've got Fernando Rickson, who was playing for Rangers, who unfortunately got diagnosed last year.
And it can, as I mentioned before, it can affect anyone at any age. I mean, obviously, you just mentioned then, it's professional sport athletes.
Yeah, I mean, there's currently big studies going on in America at the moment regarding NFL players, and it does seem to be a high percentage of sports people, but you know what, I'd never discourage anyone to stop doing sports, because it's something I would love to do, and I'd never want to see people go away from sports for fear of getting it. As I say, at the moment there's no known cause.
And there's no down the line medical advice what can...
No, I think that's one of the hardest things about trying to raise awareness for it, is that people can't say to you, don't do this, don't do that, or try and do this, try and do that, for the ins and outs of it. Unfortunately, if you get it, you get it. There's not much you can do about it.
Before you mentioned about 1,000 people in the UK, how many people do you think got it worldwide? As a rough estimation?
I'd say about 100,000.
And that's worldwide?
And that's worldwide. So when you think of the bigger picture of 7 billion people in the world, it is still a rare disease. But one thing I will say about it, I always thought it was an old person's disease until I was diagnosed at 37, and over half the people I've met since I've had it are actually under 40 now. So for some reason there's a worrying trend of it's just hitting younger and younger people.
Obviously, you mentioned before, because obviously there's so many people, less people in the UK would have got it. Obviously the government don't recognise it.
No, not really. I mean, we've got a charter at the moment, an MND charter, which people can go on the MNDA website and sign this charter for better care with people with motor neurone disease. I mean, when you go on terminal illness cover, half the illness covers, it's not on there, so straight away you've got to battle for every little thing you get, and if the charter gets enough people signing, then might go to government, and hopefully the MPs can get involved then.
Is there actually a site where you can go to sign that?
Yeah, Motor Neurone Disease Association website, and there's all information on there regarding it.
Sound well in. obviously I've got Will along with it. Yourself and Will have been childhood friends.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Thanks for that.
Obviously, I'm going to just come on to Will a bit later on in the show because you've got to play a few tunes from your albums that you produced.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the albums?
Yeah, we've been playing guitar together. Well, I was 16, he was about 22 at the time. And then we just, obviously with my football career, I went one way and he went the other, and then when I was diagnosed, we sort of decided to get together and have a go at doing an album, which we did. We've done a concert, raised money for MND Maidstart, and it went dead well. And then, I'll be honest with you, I thought if I do one album, I've done well. Mainly because my lung capacity is decreasing every month, really. So for us to get 2 albums out of it, we've done really well, to be fair.
Can you just give us the names of the albums that you've done and where you can get them? Yeah,
we've done Shoot the Moon, we call Laughs of a Dying Breed. The first album, Shoot the Moon, you can get that on iTunes, and the second album is Shadow Memories, and you can get that by getting in touch with MND Maidstart on their website or their Twitter or Facebook page, and we'll send the CD out to you. It's £10, but everything goes towards the charity stuff.
We are pleased to say that the lads will give Anfield FM a copy of the album. The songs will be downloaded onto the site as soon as possible. If you can give it to listeners, there's a song on it called Justice, which was obviously released not long after the independent report panel come out. Can you just tell us why you done that, please?
Yeah, it was just obviously, we used to go to the games early 80s, so we know everything that went on regarding high school hills, where all the terrible times, that Liverpool Football Club have had, but we've also lived through the good times, and I just thought it was fitting that when the verdict came out, about a week later, I just put pen to paper and thought, I've been wanting to write this for 20 odd years, but couldn't really put together because it didn't seem to be. It was an ongoing campaign, do you know what I mean? So when it was finally done, I thought I would give it a go. And the lyrics are a bit heavy, but they're heavy in a good way.
I think it's honesty, isn't it?
Yeah, we tried to be as honest as we could as someone who lived in that time. So hopefully we've done the families and obviously the deceased said it.
Right, I've asked by Neil's a mate of mine, and Mark's said, he's just said Neil and the lads' favourite song from the first album is Love and Affection.
Love and Affection, yeah, that was, I've loved that in about 5 minutes, really. It had nothing to do with Neil, by the way, so I don't feel get the idea. That was, we opened that song for the first concert we done about 2 years ago, and we dedicated it to Neil, because Neil's done loads of that, but at the time he was on the cabs, and he got MNDA sticker for the side of the cab, which sort of got a little bit of trend going now up and down the UK. There's cabs raising awareness for us, so it was Neil who started all that off, so
dedicated to him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. He had a tear in his eye, felt that way.
Fair play. Before you mentioned about that you had a bit of a footballing career.
Yeah.
Can you tell us who you played for and what position you played in?
Yeah, I played for Altrincham FC for over 10 years. I was a centre half, cultured one. I want to say it that way. Yeah, and after I played, stopped playing, I went to Accrington Stanley as a director, as Centre of Excellence. When I got my UEFA A licence, was managing for me, then went to Leeds Genesis. So I was sort of setting myself up for a managerial career, really, and then unfortunately I was diagnosed with MND, which sort of put the mockers on that.
What do you reckon your biggest football achievement was?
Scoring on match of the day. It was an equaliser against Darlington in the second round of the FA Cup. It was an equaliser. And then we got beat 2-1 and Mark Lawrenson led me for the winner. Absolutely. So I'm not Mark Lawrenson's biggest fan, to be honest.
I don't think anyone is. I've got a lot of other stuff to talk about down the line, but while Will's here, can you just tell us how involved you got with the albums?
Sure. Like you said earlier on, Steve, me and Mark go back from 40 years. which is not giving our age away really,
No,
is it? But
no.
you know, it is what it is. So we've kind of grew up together through everything. Our family have always been close-knit and what have you. So when Mark was diagnosed, I mean, you know, how this guy actually manages to control the roller coaster of emotions that he must go through. Obviously it affected everybody else that was around him. So he was literally turn up, bad news, a week later, bucket list wrote, and it was one of the things that we said we're going to revisit again, and you know, certainly pull the music back. And fortunate enough, we've got you know, a place where we can go and lock ourselves away and start to write and get into the things. So that's where the original album started with, and there's a couple of other guys with us that we've been sessioning with for many years, and so be it. The album was finished and completed, and then we took it out and done a gig, and I think we raised around about £12,000 to £15,000 on the night for Motor Neurone Disease Association, which kind of started everything off for us. So all good news on that. And then appreciating Mark's deterioration over time, you know, we decided to have another go at second album, which is currently what we've got here, so hopefully we can have a little go with that.
Yeah, so well, as you just mentioned it before, all the songs on the albums, they are all your own lyrics and your own words, and
it's all composed by ourselves. Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say your favourite song is off the albums that you've done yourselves, Mark?
To be honest with you, man, me personally, it's Justice, just because
it means that much to you.
Yeah, it does, yeah, do you know what I mean? And everyone who I go to the match with, and you know, we've all got some sort of link with her, and you know, I think to me that was probably, you know, a satisfying song. And when it was completed as I thought it was spot on, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
sure. Oh no, couldn't split hairs on them, to be fair. You know, there's
he always sits on the fence.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think the two great pieces of work that we should both be proud of. You know, it's, there's some real honesty, certainly in this new album that we've done, which is called Childhood Memories. That is, you know, a real mix of roller coaster emotions in there. So I'm sure when people listen to it, they'll appreciate the honesty that's in there.
Sorry, just in case anyone missed it before, what did you actually search for on iTunes to find?
Last of His Arm Breed, and then the other just want to Shoot the Moon.
The album's called Shoot the Moon, yeah?
Yeah. And you'll find it.
Sound. Well, just while we're talking about the songs, Willow's going to give us a few tunes, hopefully.
Well, we'll have a little go.
So, what's your first one going to be, mate?
We're going to do a song which is the title of the album, Childhood Memories it's called, and it's a little blast from the past, and I'm sure people of our age will appreciate some of the little lines that are in there. Hopefully it'll all take us back down memory lane.
So, Will, over to you, please, mate.
No problems.
Unfortunately, because of NND, I mean, this was recorded in November, and my voice has gone worse, which is part of the condition, so I can't sing anymore.
I'm flying solo.
Yeah. I'm sure some of your listeners won't mind that, to be honest.
The sun will shine down upon the city I live in. We watch all the people walking by, looking pretty. The corner shop sold everything, and you know when the milkman's been. There's not many cars upon the road, doesn't seem that long ago. '76 we ran out of water and we never been there before. Bursting bubbles right out on the road, hiding in the undergrowth. Throwing ants in spider webs and thinking you were Superman. Throwing stones out on the hillside as the trains go flying by. Think I'll follow that train on down the line, all the way through the summertime, getting chased by orange men and find a new place, make a dance. holes upon our neighbour's wall, so we all played football. Was that the sound of breaking glass? Oh, how we run so fast.
Nice one, Will.
Good guys.
Sounds better with me, like.
No, you were going to go before there.
There you
wish
go.
on away. Can you just tell us, Mark, please, what the actual worst part of the illness is actually having?
I mean, obviously, when I was diagnosed, I was a long time staying partner with 3 young children, so obviously that was my first thought was, you know, what's going to happen to them and that. But as time's gone on, you know, I sort of think MNG's, you know, it's gradually eating away at me, and I'm sort of making things harder for me regarding talking, walking and stuff. But you know, I think at the end of the day it is what it is now, and there's not much I can do about it. I've just got to try and be as positive as I can and move on with it, really.
I mean, as Miles, I've only met you, well, basically first time yesterday, but obviously, as I mentioned Neil before, he's talked to me about it for a while and that, and I'll be honest, if I never knew Neil, I know nothing about this, because even what Stephen Hawkins has got, I didn't know what it was. You just obviously knew he was an NL man. You know, and I think that's a scary thing, that these illnesses are going on and affecting such young people, and there's not, it's not in your face. People don't know enough about it.
And I think that's what, you know, the hardest thing for me is sort of every time I'm trying to raise awareness, sometimes you bang your head against a brick wall. I mean, as soon as you mention cancer, everyone knows what cancer is, you know what I mean, and rightly so. But because obviously it's a less well-known disease, sometimes you can feel like you're banging your head against a big wall. But I must say, since I've been on Twitter, the amount of awareness that was raised, especially about Liverpool, but almost over the world really, it's been unbelievable. And the support of people from Liverpool have been fantastic. You know, they've gone away and done our own sponsorship things and raised money and awareness for the cause. So, you know, regarding that, we're starting at the bottom ladder, but, you know, hopefully gradually we're trying to get up that ladder to raise more awareness.
Well, thanks for that, Mark. That was the first part of the show. I'm just going to bring Roy in, because he just sat patiently there for 20 minutes and not said much. Roy is on the Spirit of Shankly Management Committee, but today we've got him here as the National Executive Committee member of the Blacklist Support Group. It's a mouthful, Roy, isn't it?
It is, Steve.
Right, I'll be honest with you, this is nothing I knew anything about either until I read it on Read All Over the Land. Obviously I know Roy through SOS, so we thought we'd get him on to tell us a bit about it. We'll start off with the Blacklist construction.
Yeah, I found my file back in 2011. Now, what had happened 2 years earlier, an office in Droitwich in Worcestershire was raided by the Information Commissioner's Office, which is the government watchdog, and there were 3,213 files uncovered, and them files pertain to people who'd worked mainly in the construction industry, and they'd been involved in trade union activity. They were trade union members, and basically anyone who'd stood up for the rights. And as I say, I got my file back in 2011, and I was mortified because I'd only been on strike once in my working life, and that was back in 1995, which was some 16 years previous. And 44 companies who compile these blacklists had conspired against myself and the other 3,000 or so people to keep them off building sites over a number of generations. My file went back, as I mentioned there, to the 90s. I've seen files that go back to the 60s, which is 50 years. So there's, you know, people who have suffered a lot of hardship. There's been family breakups, there's been people who've attempted suicide, there's people who've committed suicide, and it's just something which it mortified me, and I've made it a personal crusade along with another, with a lot of the other lads in the Blacklist Support Group, to get justice for these people. And hopefully that'll come through the courts, which we've initiated High Court proceedings now, and we're open to put the people who put us on these blacklists behind bars, basically, as well as the financial compensation. So that's something that's very much ongoing at the moment.
Can you tell us how people actually ended up on this blacklist and what it actually entails?
Yeah, I'd only been on strike once in my working life in Connors Quay Power Station, which at the time was the biggest construction site in the country. And I put my hands up to be shop steward. I was only just at my apprenticeship, so I was a little bit wet behind the ears. And there were 600 men on site, and we voted unanimously, democratically, to go out and strike. And I went in with meetings with the management afterwards to get the concessions we were after, and we pretty much got everything. But after that, I was targeted. The two lads I was travelling over to Wales with, they were sacked. I was put on a far part of the site on my own, working alone. And basically, the ironic thing is on my blacklist file, it's got that one entry of 1995, but it actually calls me a sheep. It says we seem to think he's a bit of a sheep. Now in North Wales, that was just like it's taking the mickey, and there's been a little bit of joviality since then. But for a long time after 1995, I struggled to get work on the bigger sites. I had to work around the country for smaller building firms. I had to work self-employed, agencies, and long spells of unemployment, which put a lot of strain on my family. And probably one of the biggest recent jobs in Liverpool was Liverpool One, the biggest inner city project between 2004 and 2009. And I couldn't get on it for love nor money. And the company who actually put me on the blacklist, Lang O'Rourke, with the company who done Liverpool One, and it was screaming out for tradesmen. And that's when I sort of got a little bit I thought there's got to be something wrong. It's the biggest job in the country, and I couldn't get on it. And sure enough, I inquired about my file, and I got it back a couple of years back.
How many people do you reckon are on this list?
Well, there's about 435 in Merseyside now. Out of the 3,213 people, only 400 people nationally have come forward. So that's just over 10%.
Is that because they don't know about it?
Yeah, that's right. There's been a bit of a blanket. I was going to say that the media haven't covered it anything like as what we thought they should have. And it comes down purely to that. Now, there'll be people who've gone out of the building industry. There'll also be people who've emigrated. There'll be people who've passed away. But there is a large number there who are probably still within the industry. They just haven't come forward because the media hasn't got it across. Because what we're also doing, we're looking at sort of justice in quite a few forms. Now, the legal compensation is only a small one. What we're also looking for as well is a full public independent inquiry, which will probably go down the route of the Leveson inquiry, on sort of who was involved politically, because I've just mentioned Lang O'Rourke's there. We've got McAlpine's, was one of the biggest perpetrators in blacklisting, and we've got them as the lead name on the claim. And the thing is with them, they are actually the biggest donors of the Tory party, so we need to see where this goes politically and whether there's any any cabinet members involved or anything like that. It was just touched on Hillsborough there. We see the same types of collusion within these within this scandal, and we need to get to the bottom of it. So it's not just purely financial redress. We want to see people in court and hopefully coffin people up at the top end of the chain, because as I mentioned there, Tory donors, it'll usually go a bit further. The other thing as well, I've just mentioned it was the employers. We've also got files there which look like they've got police entrance on as well, which is quite shocking. There's looks like the police have been colluding on the files, and we've just had an IPCC complaint upheld. So this is the other strand to it. It's not just the employers. We've actually got police and the secret services as well, which is quite frightening. We're talking about everyday building workers here.
Basically, obviously, when I spoke to you on the phone yesterday about it, you mentioned basically there's professors and doctors and basically anyone who's been on strike and tried to stand up for employment laws. There's basically they've been shit on for a lesser term. That's right, Steve.
When the Information Commissioner's office raided the offices in Midlands, in Droitwich. They actually only picked up between 5 and 10% of the files. Now, what we said at the time, or what I heard Ian Davidson, who's chairing the Scottish Select Parliamentary Inquiry, said, it'd be like the police raiding somewhere and basically seeing the drugs and taking the drugs but leaving the shotguns there. You know, it was like they didn't take the other 90% of the files. So where we're talking about 3,000 files, you know, you're probably talking maybe nine times that. On the files, there's also, as you just mentioned there, there's an academic, a doctor up who done a report on the Piper Alpha disaster and some of the recommendations on how it could be averted again. And he's actually got a file which says he's a trouble causer. Basically, he's denting the profits of some of these major companies. There's journalists on there, there's a Scottish MP on there, there's also a comedian on there, a lad called Mark Thomas, a political comedian, because he was involved in environmental activities. I think he tried to stop Heathrow Terminal 5 getting built or something like that. So some of it's paranoia, basically, and basically, as you say, it's people who are just sticking up, you know, for the communities, or you know, sticking up for the fellow workers on safety issues and better working conditions, because the building industry, out of all the sectors in the country, is the one that has the most injuries and the most fatalities. Around 50 people die every year. It's more than any serviceman, believe it or not, and obviously you don't hear much getting said about it. So anyone who basically stands up for safety issues was put on this blacklist.
Is this blacklist there for life, or could it be that basically if you get blacklisted from the banks or whatever else, that's a 5-year span, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this a longer term one?
Well, we found that
you mentioned before, it goes back to 1964 to the present date. Is that it for life then?
Yeah, I'm going to a funeral on Saturday. One of the key campaigners in this is a lad called Michael Abbott. He's done some stuff in the Echo. He was part of the Shrewsbury Pickets campaign, who your listeners may know a little bit about, was the big building strike in 1972. And it's going to be a celebration of his life. Now, he was the longest, he had the longest running blacklist file. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. But yeah, once you were on there, you were stopped from getting work on the major sites. There was 44 multinational companies. It wasn't just in this country. I've organised some demonstrations abroad, and one last year in Sweden, to make people aware over in Stockholm what their company is about in the UK, and it goes beyond this country somewhat. So again, yeah, it's once you were on that blacklist, you were on it. You know, you weren't getting off it. That's the short of that one.
Can I just come in there, Steve? I contacted Roy. My dad has a similar background to Roy. He passed away, my dad, 15 odd years ago now. But with Roy's support, I was able to make an inquiry through the Information Commissioner's office to see. We already knew my dad was on the blacklist, and he was able to confirm that. My mum's died as well now, so he was able to confirm he was on the blacklist. But him having passed as such, it was a dead end sort of thing from any kind of support point of view. But the point Roy makes is great insofar as there's families up and down the country, specifically in Merseyside, but all over the country, who've been affected by this, both economically and emotionally, and families destroyed for all we know. My mum and dad basically lived in poverty for the last 15 years of certainly of his life, because he just physically wasn't allowed to work on building sites, which was his only method of income. And there must be thousands of families, if not tens of thousands of families, who have gone through the same thing. It's a disgrace, a national disgrace. So the best thing anyone can do, if they've got any concerns about anything like this, as far as I'm concerned, would be to speak to Roy. That might be a bit harsh for Roy, you know, but if Roy's leading the campaign, you can contact Roy on Facebook and Twitter, I think. Now he's just turned his Twitter back on. But on Facebook, via the Spirit of Shankly website, any way you can get in touch with Roy, and Roy would be able to give everyone the best advice about moving forward, to make an application if you fear that you've been blacklisted in any way, because it is a national disgrace, Roy, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and as Paul mentions there, as I say, you can get in touch with myself. I'm taking about 2 phone calls a week off people coming forward asking how they get their file, so there is like a trickle effect. I did one of the big breakthroughs in the campaign was I actually got in touch with Panorama last year, and they said they'd like to do something on it, so it went out to a national audience back in June, and they called it the Panorama Effect, and hundreds come forward then and to get the files and things, to get on board with the legal proceedings. But the case itself is one which is, again, it's quite ironic. I mentioned about the Shrewsbury pickets there briefly. We're going against the 44 companies with the same laws that they used against the Shrewsbury pickets, and that's conspiracy, the Conspiracy Act, which Paul may be familiar with from having a legal background, and that's a law that goes back to 1875. So it's going to be nice getting these people into court, hopefully threatened with jail. I've always said that, you know. I think because why I'm campaigning, we don't draw the line under it when we get the legal compensation or you know, the compensation order. Why I'm doing this, or what's driving me as such, is my 10-year-old daughter. I want her to join a trade union in 6 or 7 years' time when she comes out of school, and I don't want her to suffer the same things as me when she goes into a workplace and says, I'm not sticking up for this. So basically, we're doing it for our kids and possibly their kids as well. And if people do want to circulate stuff about you, they've got to be aware that they'll be threatened with jail, and maybe they'll go to jail. They've got away with it for all too long now, and you know, all being well, that's going to stop with this court case.
Brilliant, Roy. It's a fascinating story, do you know what I mean? And as I say, I really didn't know a lot about it, because obviously until the forum comes on, when he posts things up, you don't realise it. And as I say, it's just the general working public who were basically getting it from all angles, and they can't go out the working career because they've been put on this list unfairly just by trying to support the fellow man, and it's shocking. And basically it was the Tory government what started it all, wasn't it?
That's right, Steve. And just another one to that is we got lucky to some degree. We got a whistleblower inside. He was a manager, and he gave evidence at a tribunal for an electrician, and it was him who said there's a blacklist. So the Information Commissioner's Office got wind of it, they got a tip off where it was, and they burst in and they got the files. Now, I'm under no illusion that there'll be blacklists in other sectors. I think there's certainly one in the NHS. There's probably one for teachers now. They've been on strike quite a bit recently over the pensions and things. You know, anyone who's ever sort of, you know, stuck their head above the parapet is likely to be on something somewhere or other. So it's important that the construction one gets some stronger legislation passed through, and also these people threatened with jail. And then hopefully the other sectors, you know, they'll have a look at this and say, well, we've got so much to lose, we can go to jail if we do this in our own jobs. You know, the rogue bosses, which, you know, I'm not saying all bosses are rogues, because I'm actually a site manager myself. I wouldn't like to think I'm unlike, but there is certainly some bad ones out there, and they need to be exposed.
Thank you very much, Roy, for that. At the halfway point of the show, it's that time again for Bet of the Week. Now, so far we haven't had much luck, so I've called in the big boys, and I've got Leon to give me this week's bet, and it involves our cousins over the park, Everton. Everton are 12-5 for the draw, no bet on Arsenal in the cup. Arsenal's form recently is 2 wins out of 6. Everton have had 3 out of 6. Martinez record in the cups, obviously, there he won it last year. Arsenal got a lot of games coming up this month, legs are tired, whatever else. For it to go to replay, I don't think it's a bad bet at all. So 12-5, if this comes in, Leon is going to be the main tipster for the rest of the season. Whether you like that, I don't really know. Just after that, while we've got Roy in full flow, a little bit of Spirit of Shankly chat. On the next Thursday, on the 13th of March, we will buy back in the Sandon back room for our EGM. On the topics are the Anfield regeneration. We've got a few politicians coming in, and we have also got obviously just the usual everyday, day-to-day run-ins of Liverpool Football Club. Obviously the accounts come out today with a loss again. I'm sure that'll be high on the agenda. And also, while we're in it, the Durham complaint has moved on a bit more. Roy?
Yeah, we had a meeting there about 3 weeks back, the morning of the Arsenal game, and our solicitor come up from London, Darren White, of Dayton Solicitors. What he wants to feel was the police. I'll just bring your listeners up to date on what happened in. We're coming up to the 3-year anniversary. We were coming back from Sunderland back in March 2011, and we usually got an escort back to the A1. Now, unfortunately, on this day, well, unfortunately for the police, they decided to bring us all the way back to Merseyside. So we subsequently put a complaint in against Durham Police Force, and they actually said, yeah, we have done wrong and everything. So what what happened after that, we sort of we got the 50 people who were on our bus to come into the claim, and obviously there were a lot of other buses who were in that escort on that day. And what the upshot of what the solicitor said is we've given the police the chance to settle out through their insurers. Now unfortunately they haven't come forward with anything meaningful, so now we're initiating court proceedings against 4 police forces, and that will be Durham, North Yorkshire, West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester. And basically the law that we'll be using is false imprisonment, because they acted irrationally and unreasonably to keep us on the buses for a 3.5 hour period coming back to Liverpool on the day of that game. So
we was given a reason as to why that was on?
No, as I say, we've had fairly little dialogue with the police over it, and the only thing that one of the police forces did admit that they did act unreasonably, so there was an admission of guilt there by Durham. So what we've said is that the other 3 police forces all acted in the same manner, so we're going up against the 4 police forces. So we're looking at probably getting a High Court date, probably late spring, early summer, so maybe a couple of months off, and hopefully we'll be able to give an update on when the date is and everything, and we'll put our suits on and shoot down the High Court and have a bit of a demonstration about what happened on that day. But there may be implications for how fans are treated going on coaches to away matches if we get the result, which we think we will. I was chatting, if I can just say this, Steve, if there's any previous case law, to back this up. Now, what our solicitor told us is that there isn't anything specifically within football, but there was something which happened in the Iraq War back in 2004 where a coachload of protesters went from London over to an airbase in Gloucestershire. Now, what the police did, when they got to Gloucestershire, they turned them round and sent them straight back to London without getting off the bus. And they took their case forward legally, and that ended up in the High Court, and they actually won, and they said, you were falsely imprisoned, and it was unjustifiable what the police did. So we think the same thing happened with us, and all being well, it'll get the same conclusion. So it's a case of watch this space on that one, Steve. The wheels of justice turn slowly, as we know, up here on Merseyside. But just to tell your listeners, anyone who's part of the claims, just buckle yourselves in, and we'll have something to report over the coming months. Whether it goes to court or not, I'm not sure. Maybe Paul might be able to give. We think that they'll probably still come to the table before the court date. But if it goes to court, then bring it on. That's what we're pretty much saying at the moment.
Good stuff. Just a reminder that the AGM is next Thursday at 7 o'clock start, isn't it, Roy?
Yeah. The other things you've just mentioned there, rightly so, is the ground redevelopment. I think we've got
Kits, isn't it? It's come on doing
that's right. And Rachel Flood, I think she's one of the other senior officers within the council. I think Steve Rotherham, I think you mentioned.
Hopefully.
I think we're waiting for him to be confirmed.
And Alison McGovern as well.
She should be a good one. There'll also be a bit of discussion about the ticketing campaign as well, I'd imagine. We've had some recent successes there, certainly the Arsenal game, where we put a letter to Arsenal, stating that we wanted it to be a Category B game. And obviously the other one is, which will have implications for some of the other clubs, is that we put pretty much a letter in saying that we weren't happy about the allocation for our cup game with Arsenal.
Everton have followed that up, haven't they? Joe Addison's through his 2 Bobs Worthing, Steve Rotherham, Andy Burnham. It's good that they're all getting on board, but Joe Anderson said to us that he didn't see the Liverpool letters. I'm not being funny, the Blue Union can get his attention, surely as West Ham with the followings we've got and the media presence and whatever else. I think it was a bit insulting, to be fair, and I think he's let himself down.
Probably one of the other things that I probably touched on the meeting is the amount of bureaucracy and red tape you have to go through to get documents, and how they come to a decision of not giving the 15%, which I think was the FA regulations, Rule 21A, and they went against that. And the FA, if I can be quite frank about this, they seem like a guard dog without teeth. They've sort of more or less let the clubs run roughshod over them.
I'd call them worse than that.
I was probably being quite kind. So it'd be we're still pursuing that, and as you say, Steve, you're right there. The more political support, if it's belatedly, of course, we get with that, then obviously, if it helps us, then we'll take it.
Right, well, while we're on the topic of football, we'll have a little bit of Liverpool chat. Obviously the boys are still flying high. massive result at Southampton on Saturday. So we will start there, and we'll start with Brendan Rodgers' tactics. Now, after the Villa game at home, I criticised him to death, thinking he was too bold and whatever else. But since then, every game since, he's been tactically absolutely superb. He's got the boys playing. He's put Gerrard in this new role, as we discussed on other shows. Sterling playing at the top of the diamond when he come on after he scored the second goal on Saturday. But he's just, at the minute, Brendan Rodgers is dragging his team forward by his technical nous, and he's proved a lot of people wrong from the start.
Yeah. I mean, I think when we played Southampton at home, I thought Southampton done the job, and I was really tactically they were spot on. It was early on the season when Southampton were playing, and when we got beat, I was thinking, it's still a little leg up, and then when we went there on Saturday, I thought Rodgers got his tactics spot on. But I think the way we're playing at the minute, I think it's just worry about how we playing or the team play, because we just seem to be dominating early on, getting the goals, and then
the rest is following through, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
not my biggest subject, to be fair, so
no.
Pass it back to my
Go ahead then, boy.
Yeah, I thought one of the things which struck me about the Southampton game, they played probably how I thought they played, a very high tempo. They made it very difficult for us. As Dave says there, we sort of we scored the early goal, then they had a good spell up till half time. I was glad to get him 1-0 at half time.
Well,
that's right. And then sort of I thought we got a bit of control of it second half. One of the worrying aspects, well, when I say worrying, one of the striking things is probably young Coutinho's performance. I noticed in the Fulham game when I was down there, teams are looking at him now and they're sort of marking him, because they know obviously Suarez and Sturridge
passes on.
Exactly, that's right. So they're cutting it off at source. And what I did notice in the Fulham game was he was shackled by Steve Sidwell, and he might be everyone's cup of tea, but he did a job on Coutinho. He was never more than 4 or 5 yards away from him. And when he got free for the goal after an hour, Coutinho, it was only then he could start feeding the passes through, because Fulham would trying to come back into it. That's right. His performance against Arsenal was, but maybe some of the away games he struggled a little bit, and I thought he struggled against Southampton. But generally, you can't fault any of them. The clean sheet was absolutely superb. I went on record as saying we won't get many till the end of the season now.
What clean sheets?
Clean sheets, because we're just outscoring teams. If we're going.
It's like Sunday league, innit? They score 4, they're going to score 6.
Well, that's it. Yeah. And I don't mind that. To be honest, it makes for good viewing. Yeah,
it makes for good viewing. But if someone after me from 1-0, so
and I think that probably comes down to the defence has fluctuated quite a lot, hasn't it? I think we've had players come in and we haven't really had settled pairings for probably 7 or 8 games or more. They've been in for 3 or 4 games and then it's been swapped around. But I think at the moment, we're sort of, it's just great to, when I come up to the Fulham game, was walking down towards the coach and everything, and it was like it was Baltic and everything, and lads had the shirts off, and it was like the Bentham moment when we played there a few years ago, and I sensed it, and I thought, we're in the title mix here.
When we were walking out, I mean, I went down in 18, and as we were walking out, and the place was bouncing, I said, because Fulham's all gone out, we were around top of the chain, we was going out, and I said, they must be able to really absolutely bounce it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that must be an incentive for you as a player to hear that, because it was an important game, it was an important win.
Yeah, but sorry Steve, just one of the biggest results of Saturday, coming back on the bus, the coach that we have, the microphone hasn't been working for the last couple of games for whatever reasons, and I think I said to the coach company, look, we're going to knock £100 off the bill if you don't get the mic fixed, because we've got the legendary Lenny Woods at the front of the bus, and if your coach hasn't got a mic, what use is Lenny? So sure enough, we had the mic on, and we just say, it's one of the longest tips back Southampton, and it just flew over because Lenny had the mic for pretty much best part of the tip, and even young Mono, Stevie Mono, was on as well. So the two of them were bouncing off each other. It was just a sing-song all the way back, but you got the feeling on the bus. Whispered it quietly, but we're in this.
To be fair, I mean, that just took me on to the next point there. Basically, it's 10 games from greatness, isn't it? I mean, we spoke on the last show, if you win every game from now to the end of the season with champions, we've just had another 2 games, another 6 points on the board, it's down to 10 now. I am absolutely don't feel bad, I'm not scared of winning it. I'm scared of being in its position because, even the Swansea game, once they got back into it, you could feel it in the crowd. Everyone was going, oh no, we're going to blow it this time. If it comes down to the last 3 games where we've got Chelsea to beat them to go top of the league, no one's going to know what to do. It's going to need the old heads in that ground to put their arms around the young kids. Just calm down. We've done this all the time. It's time to think. I mean, you can feel it. Our crowd's that mixed now. People come for the day trips. They're not going to get it. They're just going to expect us to do what we've done to Arsenal, win 5-1 and whatever else. It's going to need the time for calm heads. Everyone just to take it easy, get the game won, and then you move it forward.
Yeah, it's squeaky bum time, you know what I mean? I think a big thing this year was obviously Ferguson leaving Man U, and I think without him in the mix, I think every other club feels a bit more confident to go on and do it. I mean, Mourinho now is trying to play mind games with everyone, but I think people are getting bored of it at the minute. You know what I mean? As long as Bentham keeps doing what he's doing, I don't see any reason why we can't go on.
Do you think we'll win it?
Well, do you know what? It's great to be talking about it in March. I've come back on plenty of buses where you're looking at we're going to get into Europe. We're going to get a UEFA Cup spot. So to be actually, in there, I did notice a stat which said if the teams that finish or top at Christmas Day invariably go on and win the league. So I'm looking at a few stats there, you know what I mean, which top scorers usually win it, you know what I mean. I think 8 out of the last 10 years I think I see it on Match of the Day. I can see it's finishing top scorers, so I don't think there's any question to that. We probably concede more than anyone else, by the way, you know what I mean, but I can see us winning it. I just got the feeling after the Fulham game it was, you just seen some of the R lads on the bus and you could see the twinkle in their eyes, you know what I mean.
I think we can win it. I mean, you look at Chelsea and City and think they've got bigger and better squads, and obviously if anything happens to our front four, we could have problems, but at the end of the day I live on the positive side, so I think
it's right. Obviously I know time is ticking on, but we will have a bit of an extended extra time because we've got a bit more to talk to Mark about and I don't want to just rush him off, so don't worry if we run past 7 o'clock, we'll be okay. Just I want to talk about Steven Gerrard at the minute. After the second goal against Fulham, he basically did the pitch of the celebrations. He's dragging the players back to get them behind the ball. I think he knows this is his last chance of winning this league at the minute, because next year ultimately, United are going to spend. Everyone's going to re-spend again. We're back in the Champions League. We haven't had that for a while. It could be a total different next season. Not the Swansea effect, but we could struggle in the league with the extra games. I think he knows this is his last chance, and they can come in the cameras and say, we're taking it easy, but I'd be banging them doors off in that change room, making sure he drags them players over the line, because since the last month he's been outstanding.
I think one of the significant things about the Fulham game was, and it's something I can't remember him ever doing, was taking his shirt off. After he scored the pen, and I just thought to myself, hang on a minute, there's something going on there, you know what I mean? And usually he keeps his cool, doesn't he? But now I think you're right there. I think this is, I wouldn't like to say it's his last chance, but you're right. I think Father Time's, knocking on now, so maybe he's looking at it as his last chance. But it's absolutely fantastic to see the team. The way they're going forward. It's young Sterling's come on this season. Coutinho at the ground running when he come over last January, and Sturridge. Obviously Suarez is getting a lot of the plaudits, but it's actually Daniel Sturridge. If you look at the stats, he's ripping threes up, you know what I mean? And I think someone said to me on the bus, the amount of times he scores in the first 5 minutes is more than anyone else. He's sharp as a button. As soon as he gets on the pitch, he's looking to score from the kick-off. Whereas you might get players who they just ease into the game. He's thinking, as soon as I get the ball, I want to score. And I'll be honest, when he doesn't score, you can see he's a little bit like, but that's good, he's great strikers.
It's not that often, is it?
No, that's right.
He seems to be just scoring for fun.
Obviously a big plus point for us at the minute, and I am going to use it as a plus point, is that we haven't got no other games, so it is all eggs in one basket for the league title. And what else? Obviously, we've got a nice little fortnight break between the United game. Sakho's back in training, Lucas is back in training. The squad are coming back together, plus the rest. Some of Suarez have been playing with an injury since Christmas Day apparently, with his foot. All this is boding well for that push over the line.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think you just mentioned Lucas there. I know people are saying leave the midfield alone and that, but I think it was the Villa game where he come on, where we were getting over on the midfield.
He was excellent until he went off.
That's right. So there will be games where you'd say, you know, we've got to get him in the mix somewhere. You know, Joe Allen's come back and he seems to have done all right since he's come back.
Yeah.
So we're going to need all the players, I think, even though, like you say, we're only, you know, concentrating on the league now as such.
You know, I say Rodgers is very much one of them. It's not broke, don't fix it. I don't think he'll change the side just for the sake of changing it.
Yeah,
but you know
what I mean?
I'm saying, like Saturday, I think if Lucas was on the bench, I don't think he would have hesitated taking Coutinho off once we got the second goal. Sterling or whoever, Sturridge or Suarez, just to shore it up and make sure it got us over the line.
Yeah, if there's one criticism, Steve, and I wouldn't want to labour it too much, it's probably the bench, and maybe that's something we'll address in the summer. I'm not saying it's the elephants in the room,
but I think Chelsea was Chelsea, our bench was non-existent, you know what I mean?
The first 11's pretty much got to get the job done, hasn't it? Because I think it was Barini scored it, you know, in the Carling Cup final. I'm wondering whether there might be a future for him coming back.
To be fair, I mean, I spoke to my Arthur about it the other day, and he was saying that, you know, the season of playing Premiership football just to get the pace of it will do him the world of good. Now, he's not going to be starting 11, but you have him on the best instead of Aspas, so you're going to feel a little bit more confident, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
and that's certainly one area where we could strengthen, certainly in the summer, isn't it, up front? Yeah, that's right.
We never done that in January, so who knows? You know what I mean? And that was a bit of a disappointment. I just want to move back on to Mark now, if I can. I had a message in off Sean on Better Land. It says, say hello to Mark from my brother-in-law Chris, who was tuning in. Chris works at Neuro Support in town.
Oh, yeah, no support in town, yeah. I've done a couple of talks there, obviously talking about living with M&D, and they do all neurological conditions, not just M&D, like NS and Parkinson's. They do loads of it as well, yeah.
Right, earlier on the show you mentioned your gig you've done, what was it, 12.5 grand, 16 grand?
Yeah, about 13,000 we raised. We had done...
where was it?
Tess Riley.
Upstairs, yeah. It was good, yeah. We had all science stuff from both Liverpool and Everton. We had Theo Walcott's England shirt.
That one Rory McIlroy gave you the sign cap?
Yeah, that's the sign cap.
Yeah, I put a little bit in for me there, so it was nowhere near what it went for, but we had a go nevertheless.
Yeah, we were open for £100 or something.
I put my house about the Maltesers and 50p, we couldn't get £100 from. How much money do you reckon you've raised for charity since you've started?
Up to now it's about 60,000 in the, we've been, I mean, I've had the M&D about 3.5 years now, but I've been sort of on the front foot with it for about 2.5, so we've raised about 60 odd grand, and I'll tell you what, half of that is for people living with the M&D on my side, so it's, you know, at the end of the day...
So basically you split it between the Liverpool branch and the national branch?
The association, yeah. You know, just to try and get people quality of life who are living with this disease, because obviously you can't offer them a cure, you can just make it as good as you can for them until obviously finally they pass away.
I believe you do a few blogs online?
Yeah, www.markmaddocks.co.uk. I started writing a blog about a year ago, just to raise awareness and tell people what it's like to live with M&D, and I've sort of made it humorous as well. I don't know what sounds very faulting like with the terminal illness, but I've just tried to be as honest as I could with it, and you know, at the end of the day, I think if I didn't have a laugh about it every now and then, I'd be crying, and I know what I'd rather do is laugh about it, so... Yeah,
just a point on the blogs as well, they're very scouts as well, you know what I mean, it's like the raw details of life from when you grow up and all the tribes.
And yeah, it's all obviously following Liverpool in the area of late 70s, right the way through to now, so when I used to add live television, I'll have to give him a mention because it's his birthday today, so I'm raised up on it today.
Yeah, nice one. Do you want to give us another little song there, Will?
No, I'll let people buy the album, mate, to support the cause.
Fair play.
I just talked about the football campaign.
Yeah, I was just going to go on to that, to be fair, mate.
It was something I went down to...
Just in case anyone missed that, the Premier League clubs have got behind the M&D.
Yeah.
So basically you've called it the football supporters.
Football v M&D, it's called, yeah. I went down to the head office about a year ago and spoke to all the staff about living with M&D, and suggested that a great awareness maker would be in football. Obviously with me being ex-footballer, I know that the football family get behind it, and we launched it in September, and to be fair, the response we've had up to now is unbelievable. We've had over 150 football clubs up and down the country. I've run the match day poster in their programme. Everton with the first Premiership clubs they done in the derby, and then Liverpool complimented that in the derby the other week, and put it in there. We've got Stoke, Man U, Man City, West Brom.
Arsenal jumped on, didn't
Arsenal jumped on, which I found out when I was down there for the FA Cup game. I got a text off one of the girls from the MNDA saying, by a programme, which I didn't know about, you know what I mean? So that was nice to go down there and see that. They also ran it for the Bayern Munich game, which was obviously good of them. So if anyone wants to get in touch regarding the football programme, you can go to football at mndassociation.org, and that'll say everything that you need to know about the football campaign.
Have any of the clubs actually supported it in a fundable way?
No, not yet, but I mean the big thing for us was getting the awareness out there, so hopefully now we can sort of get bucket collections and that going. I mean, if you think about it, you've got 40,000 people at the stadium doing a bucket collection. If everyone throws £1, then it's 40 grand, you know what I mean? So hopefully that's the next step, is getting the awareness raised. Now hopefully we can get some fundraising going.
Sound. What has been your proudest moment since you started doing your bits for?
Probably the marathons. Obviously, I mean the music is a big thing to me, really. So for me to do 2 albums with this condition was a massive thing. But also I've done 2 marathons. I've done Liverpool Marathon in September 2011 or 12, and then I've done London last year, which was unbelievable, and I'm doing London again this year, believe it or not, all for MNZ again. So you know, to do them and the football campaign, I've jumped out of planes and I had the parachutes on, like.
They forgot to knock it.
I don't know if they're trying to tell me something. Everything we've done really has been over the cause, and you know, I wouldn't have done it without the people I've got behind me, and obviously my wife and family. And you know, I think the longer it continues, the better. I always say, if I wake up in the morning and wish my kids good morning and kiss them good night, job's done for me. I've had a good day, you know what I mean?
Outstanding. I believe you've won a few awards as well. Neil was telling me.
Yeah,
you don't give yourself enough credit.
No. I never won that one when I played footy, to be honest. And then when I stopped playing footy, I started getting all these fucking awards. I got a special award off the non-league paper. That was for the marathon last year as a special achievement, and then some of my friends nominated me for a Brave Heart Award. That was held the other week in the Glaston. It was the Community Superstars, which fortunately I won, so I was made up, you know, I took it on, and that. The kids think it's a toy, you know what I mean? So I'm like, it'll be a vibe or something now, you know what I mean? But it meant a lot,
How many awards do you reckon you've won?
I've had more bookings than I've had awards, put it that way. I think I've since I've been diagnosed about 2 or 3. I just wish I got them on a play footy, you know what I mean?
I mean, obviously, I don't want to put this in a blunt term, but what was the future hold for yourself? What are you hoping to achieve?
Just to keep going as much as you can. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what the future holds, because I'm over 2 years diagnosed with a terminal illness, and you know, every day I wake up and think, why is another day I speak positive and see what I can do, and the more I can do to raise awareness and obviously funds for a cure, the better. But like I say, I've got the love and support of people around me that just keep me going every day, you know.
Just before I finish the show, I've got to mention hat, scarf and a badge. They've got the new t-shirts in, the Liverpool Road End t-shirt are brilliant. The pictures are over Twitter and whatever else. Obviously still got Downfield FM stuff in the shop. They've got the Spine Cop 1906 up in the shop. The badges are still going strong, as are the new Road End t-shirt badges. And also just a little plug for the SOS membership. Don't forget to get your subs paid. The union's still fighting the battle for all Liverpool fans, and will continue to do so. We have still got the meeting next week with the Greater Manchester Police before the United game once again, so we will get a statement out in due course over that. I'd just like to thank Roy, Will and especially Mark for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you on today, mate.
Thanks very much.
I'm Steve Martin, that was the Flagpole Corner. I'd like to thank you all for listening.